Tim Cook could be retiring from Apple as early as 2026. Who are the contenders to replace him? I will reveal all, and at the end, the one wildcard option that nobody's talking about. Tech investor and industry analyst Gene Munster has published a new report where he states that Tim Cook is most likely to retire between 2026 and 2028. His prediction is based on how that would give Cook enough time to complete two work milestones: launching a new product category, perhaps AR or the car, and establishing supply diversification so that Apple is less reliant on production in China. Tim Cook will go down as one of the most successful CEOs in history. He grew Apple from a $350 billion company to a $2.5 trillion company. The Apple board knows it needs a suitable replacement for when he steps down. And it's a decision it can't afford to get wrong. It's not likely the Apple board will look outside the company for a hotshot CEO, a fly-by-night seat of his or her pants CEO. They know what Steve Jobs knew. It needs to be an Apple lifer, somebody internal, somebody who knows the culture of Apple. So the Apple board and Cook should be doing what Steve Jobs did before he had to step down because of cancer. And that is prepping a replacement, mentoring him years in advance. So who will replace Cook? The truth is, the board likely already knows. Let's look at the contenders. Top of the list is Jeff Williams. He's the Chief Operations Officer. After Cook, he has the most senior position at Apple. And if you remember, he has the role that Cook had when working under Steve Jobs. He oversees the practical side of Apple's global operations. This means running the entire supply chain, from sourcing components to international production, to the logistics of moving stock around the world. He runs customer service and support, and Apple's increasingly important health initiatives. On top of all that, he leads Apple's hardware and software design team. So, he does a lot. He's integral to Apple's present success. Bloomberg reporter Mark Gurman calls him the heir apparent, and it's easy to see why. He's the most qualified option, the safest pair of hands. However, there is a fly in you guessed it, there is a fly in the eau de toilette. Cook is 61 years old. At the end of 2026, he will be 66 years old. Williams, at the end of 2026, will be 62, maybe 63. That's not much of an age gap, and that's a problem, because the CEO of Apple is not just a figurehead role, it's an active and highly demanding role. So the CEO needs to be healthy, alert, and clued up on the tech industry. The Apple board wants stability, somebody who can stay in the role for at least 10 years, perhaps matching Cook's tenure of at least 15 years. So if Williams takes on the role at 63, this means he would be potentially working until 73 or 78. And no matter how good you are in your job, no matter how experienced you are in your role, when you get into your 70s, your faculties will start to diminish. So this could rule Williams out. However, I do think his seniority does mean that if somebody else is chosen for the role, he could be brought in as a caretaker CEO to guide them and mentor them until they are ready. Sabir Khan is the Senior Vice President of Operations. He reports directly to Williams. He's in charge of the global supply chain. He promotes Apple's green initiatives by partnering with environmentally friendly manufacturers, and he oversees Apple's supplier responsibility programs that ensure staff in international factories are not exploited through working conditions or excess hours. He joined Apple in 1995. So his 27 years means he is effectively an Apple lifer, immersed in its corporate culture with highest level understanding of how it operates. It may seem that Khan would be overlooked when Williams is effectively a more experienced version of him. However, he does have one massive boon in his favour: his age. He's 56 years old. This means he has a better prospect of remaining in the role for a longer term. Deirdre O'Brien is the Senior Vice President of Retail and People. She's been with Apple for 30 years and for a long time worked behind the curtains in a variety of roles. She was part of the team that launched the first Apple retail and online stores, although she didn't lead the teams. In her present role, she focuses on encouraging staff to develop their skills and work-life balance, and harnessing staff talent to improve the customer experience. While she's undoubtedly an integral part of the Apple team, O'Brien's focus being more on the people side of the business rather than the product development side means she lacks experience building hardware or software. Greg Droswiak probably bleeds Apple. He's been with the firm since 1986. His profile lists his nickname as Joz. I believe it was Steve Jobs who gave Steve Wozniak the nickname Woz. So, just speculating here, perhaps it was Jobs who gave Greg the nickname Joz. He's the Senior Vice President of Marketing, and he helped launch the iPod and genre-breaking first iPhone. He's fresh-faced, seems like a nice guy, content in life, but besides being just 3 years younger than Cook, he probably lacks the all-round operations experience and drive that the board values. One contender you must not take your eyes off is John Ternus. He's the Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering, and he was a regular Vice President since 2013, before his promotion in 2021, giving him almost a solid decade of experience leading various hardware teams. He now leads the iPhone, iPad, AirPods and Mac teams, and has spearheaded the transition to Apple Silicon, which has been a massive critical and profitable success for Apple that has freed it from its reliance on Intel. He's appeared in Apple's more recent press events with a seemingly higher profile, introducing the new M1 iMac and MacBook Pros. He comes across as relaxed, confident, and surprisingly for this industry, ungeeky. He's got a strong screen presence, which can help with conveying a product message to consumers around the globe. And at 47 years old, he's relatively speaking to the other contenders, a young pup, the baby of the bunch. His youth means he can remain in the role of CEO for longer, providing some much needed stability that the board desires. Another notable is Johnny Srouji, who is arguably one of Apple's most important execs for building a hardware technology team that is continually innovating with its silicon engineering. He joined Apple relatively late in 2008, and the board will not likely want to dilute his power to deliver internal product innovations by moving him to a CEO role. Okay, so now for the wildcard choice to be Apple's new CEO, and it's Craig Federighi. He's the SVP of Software Engineering. He leads the development of iOS, macOS, and other applications that are pivotal to delivering a smooth interface from user to hardware, often cited as the USP of Apple products. And he kind of looks like Benja.
I'm really excited about what we have to show you today.
Whilst he doesn't have manufacturing and product line experience, he could be deemed a charismatic figurehead who can be supported by others more experienced in product lines and manufacturing. Let's be honest, in terms of faces at the Apple press events, Federighi has often been the star of the show. Friendly, charismatic, wisecracking. Pre-pandemic, his applause seemed the most energized. His quiff of hair has often been admired, spawning countless articles, Twitter fan accounts, and even a D-brand skin. There have been discussions about its fullness and its buoyancy, and to be fair, it's a great head of hair. I wonder who his surgeon is. I'm asking for a friend. And in the WWDC 2022 presentation, he was brought center stage with a humorous skit introduction. So could Federighi become the new Apple CEO? Well, besides the risk that he's been turned into comic relief, which implies the board does not take him seriously enough for the role, he does have some things going for him. Like Satya Nadella from Microsoft, he has a public-facing demeanor that represents a human side to a corporate entity, essential for schmoozing international governments and remaining on the right side of trade bodies and anti-competitive laws. He is intimately involved with the product side of Apple. He leads the software division, and that works in symbiosis with the hardware division. So he always knows what the next products are going to be and what the next innovations should be. This gives him a product-first perspective that is essential for driving Apple's growth. The Apple board's decision on who should be its next CEO will have significant ramifications. It will define if Apple continues to grow or if it will lose its aura, its influence, and its market dominance. Who is the strongest candidate to replace Tim Cook as Apple CEO?